Hey there, Cerise here. This is story time. Welcome. Well, guys, this story is about a landlord, and the landlord, I would say, from a very bad place. Let's get to the bottom of it. You guys know that I find people apartments here in the Dominican Republic when they want to come and stay short term or long term, right? So, I obviously hear a lot of stories from people that don't get apartments from me, and just little stories that they go through to give me for story time, but also to let me know what's going on with some of the landlords out there that I don't work with. Well, here's a story that I found very interesting, and some of you may get a tip from it yourself as well. Okay, so some of you will ask me about electricity when you come to the Dominican Republic, right? And you'll say to me, oh, you don't want to pay your own electricity, you want it included in the rent. Well, it's possible to do that, but most times I encourage you to pay your own electricity. I always encourage you to do that so you know what's going on. Sorry, there's someone knocking next door at my neighbor's door. So now, I encourage you to pay your own electricity, especially if you're staying here long term. And keep up on what your electricity is, what the bill is, how much you're paying for each kilowatt. It's very easy to do that. And you go to a place here in Sosua called Eta Norte. Someone sounds like they're getting upset at someone at the door. I live very close to my neighbors, but you know what? That is where I love being. Okay, they answered the door. So, in any case, let's get to the bottom of the story here. Alrighty, so um, overall, I always tell people to pay their own electricity so they know what's going on with their electricity. But some people, they don't want to do that because they rather just not get any surprises with the electricity, and they want to pay the price within their rent. So this one gentleman, he shows up and he gets to his place that he's going to be staying in for long-term rental. He told this woman that he was going to be staying for at least a year. Okay. So she said to him, all right, no worries. And he said, well, is there any way that she can put the amount in the rent? She said, well, what do you want to do? You want to pay your rent on your own, or do you want to pay the rent, within the, sorry, do you want to pay your electricity on your own? Or do you want to pay your electricity within the rent? Now, he was one of those gentlemen who was afraid of an electricity bill that may be surprising. So he said to her, he wants to pay the electricity within the rent. She said, okay, it's $200 more. Now, that's quite high here in the Dominican Republic. She said to him, it's $200 more. He said, why 200? She said, because it's central air and the dryer is plug-in. So, it doesn't run by propane, and things could get really expensive if he's not careful. And he was like, okay, no problems. He doesn't need to use the dryer. He'll just hang his clothes up outside after he washes them. And, he wasn't someone to be in the house all day, so he didn't need to use the air conditioner, all that stuff. So then, he was cool. And she had a property with different casitas. Now, casitas are like little houses, like a house with a bachelor house kind of thing, not even a one bedroom, but open concept and kind of like a cottage type of thing. But she had about 3 of those on the property, including his apartment. Now, she also lived on the property in a separate house, a large house. Now, after about a month, he told me, of staying there, everything was fine. Someone moved into the casita next to him. Everything was cool. And then he said about a month after that, someone moved into the other casita. Everything was cool. He said everyone was chilling, enjoying themselves, and he was by the pool because there was a pool on the property. He was by the pool meeting the other residents, and they were all chilling. And of course, they're comparing their rents and they're comparing, their electricity bill. And he said to one of the guests, he's like, oh, you decided to pay your electricity? And he said, well, there was no option. And he said, she told me I had to pay my own electricity. This was the first guest that was here the first month. And he's like, oh, okay. And then, he asked the other guests, and the other guest said that he hasn't paid his electricity yet, but when he does, he will make sure he lets this guy know, but he's supposed to pay it on his own as well. So this guy, let's give him a name, the guy that we're talking about in the story, let's call him Timothy. He's like, all right, okay, well, that's interesting. And so he did ask the landlord, he asked her, he's like, why did they not have a choice? Why did you give me a choice? And she said, well, you wanted that. You wanted to pay your electricity within your rent. And he was like, okay, all right, all right. So 3 months pass and everything is good. 4 months pass, everything is fabulously well. 6 months comes and the electricity turns out. Now, they had a backup generator and everything, so whenever the electricity would turn out just naturally sometimes here in the Dominican Republic, they would have a generator, so they call it an inverter, and so that will definitely turn the electricity back on. But this one day, the electricity went out, and it was out for about an hour, 2 hours, and the landlord contacted Timothy. Timothy was down on the beach. Timothy said yes. And she said, you need to come home right away. And he said, why? And she said, the electricity is not on. You need to come home. He said, well, that's your problem. You need to deal with that. That's not my problem. She said, oh, no. You need to come. So he went home. And she was yelling at him, and she was telling him, she's a German woman, the landlord. She's not a Dominican woman. So she's a German woman. Now, she was yelling at him and screaming at him and in front of the other neighbors, saying that, there's a problem. He was supposed to pay his electricity. And he was like, no, I'm not. These two are supposed to pay their electricity, not me. It's in my rent, $200 more in my rent. And she's like, oh, no. When the price goes up, when you go past 200 every month, then that means that you have to pay the residual. So in other words, he was putting it in as 200. Now, if the electricity happened to come up to $50, she was making 150 on it. If it happened to come up to $100, she was making 100 on it. If it happened to come up to $200, that was the cap. He was going to have to pay the extra. You get where I'm coming from? She didn't tell him that at first. And what in the world, when he didn't even use any air, like with central air, but he never ever tried to do, like he didn't use the dryer. He was very careful as to what he was using. He made sure that he did not do anything at all to run up the electricity bill. And he was adamant about that. And he said that to her. He said, look, I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't even touch anything to do with the air conditioner. I just let it flow. You told me it's central air. And the one guy is like, central air? There's no central air here. And he's like, what? And he's like, there's no central air, like the neighbor that was in one of the casitas. He's like, Timothy, there's no central air. We are all connected with air conditioner. But that, he's like, that there, you're generous with, but we're not connected with your electricity. Now, I don't know how this woman got all that rigged, but what she did was she was calling it central air. Somehow there was air, an air conditioner that could blow somehow, and I don't think it was remote unless it was under the ground or whatever. There was something where they could turn on their air conditioner, their air in their apartment, and have it connected to his electricity meter. And they were feeding their electricity from the air conditioner only, not from the rest of the casita apartment. So Timothy's apartment was responsible for the air in the casitas, and the electricity bill was through the roof. after that many months, and she was paying every month, like the 200, I guess, and she was, maybe she wasn't, but he said that it was so astronomical he didn't even know what to say. He said he just took her to the Fiscalia, and she was complaining all the way. She said yes, that she told him that, and she was yelling and screaming and telling him that he's wrong. And he said, nope, sorry, the Fiscalia is the courts here. He took her straight there, and he didn't have to pay his electricity. And she was so upset about it because she said that she told him. Maybe she thinks she did tell him. Maybe she thinks she did, but I don't think so, because, electricity is an important thing here for you guys when you come, and it's one of the first things you guys ask me, and you always love to get that squared out immediately, right away. So, he would have asked her, and he said that he did ask her afterwards. He said that after he found out that the other two guys were paying their own electricity bill, you know, he went to her and he asked her, and she's like, oh, no, 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 you wanted it that way, blah, blah, blah. And then comes to find out, they knew the whole time that they were using his electricity for their air conditioner. So again, she had that rigged. She knew that they were using his air. And I've never heard about that here before this story, and I haven't heard anything after. And I have asked around to a few people, and a few people said to me anything is possible when it comes to wiring certain things, but they've never heard about it either. And I just wanted to say, this woman really took him for a ride, and she really felt like she was going to, get an extra $200 a month, plus make him pay for the electricity that she was supposed to be paying for. Now, maybe it was a wrong wiring, and she knew there was wrong wiring. Maybe she knew the whole time it wasn't purpose, but maybe she didn't realize that the bills were going to be ran up that much. All of the people that were in the casitas were people that were foreigners. So, and it was the hot months, and they were using the air conditioner, going out, leaving it on. And that's where you really get a hit here in the Dominican Republic, when you leave the air conditioner on when you go out. I would suggest to you that if you're somewhere and you have to pay your own electricity and you feel a little bit worried about that, don't leave the air conditioner running when you leave your apartment, your villa, house, wherever you're renting. Just don't do it. With the air conditioner, the price can go up quite a lot. Fan, ceiling fan plugged into the wall, those things seem to be totally fine. I use my ceiling fan. It's on all the time. My TV plays in the background all the time. I use my laptop. My devices are always plugged in, like my cell phones, to do charging and stuff. And yeah, there's really nothing else that can eat your energy in your apartment, because even your stove, generally, here anyway, where I live, runs on propane. Not all stoves do, but I mean, it is a great convenience, because when the propane runs out, you just go and put more propane in. You don't have to really worry about your electricity bill, because you know how much money you're putting in your propane tank and roughly how long that propane tank will last you. A propane tank will last the average family probably about a month, the small ones, and then the larger ones most likely for about double that, triple times that, maybe three times, maybe for 3 months. It really depends on how much you cook and stuff of that nature as well, right? So, and electricity is the same thing. It depends on how much electricity you use. But overall, hands down, if you use too much air conditioner, your price for your electricity will go through the roof if you're not careful. So this guy was very fortunate that he was, dotting his I's and crossing his T's. But you just got to make sure that if you are making an agreement for electricity, you get that agreement in writing. Even if you get them to say it in a voice note through WhatsApp, just get them to send you a voice note saying that, yes, they agree that the electricity will be this, that, and that. Or get them to send it through text, through WhatsApp or email. At least if you get that in writing when in regards to the electricity, you'll be able to rest your head. Also the rent is as well. You don't have to sign a lease if you don't want to sign a lease, but you at least want to make sure that you get those things in writing, that the electricity is in the rent, how much you're paying, and you don't have to pay if it goes over the amount that is added on to the rent. A lot of the times they'll say to you, you can put in extra 50, but if it goes over 50, then you'll have to pay for the remainder of the electricity. So make sure you always talk to the landlord and get into an agreement one-on-one. Timothy did that, so he thought, and he went through the route that made him feel safe, but at the same time, he forgot to get it in writing. I can't express to you enough or stress to you enough how much of importance it is for you to get those little things in writing. A lot of you guys are more worried about getting leases and more worried about other things, but the other things that you don't want any surprise on is the electricity. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Cerise. This is Story Time. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you smash that like button and that notification bell. If you hit that notification bell, it will let you know as soon as I upload a video. I upload random videos from traveling here to living here, living on a budget, or living luxury. There are so many videos that I can also add. You guys just let me know exactly how I can help you out. And I also help people find apartments in the north coast of the Dominican Republic. Take care, everyone. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for smashing that like button. Thank you for hitting that bell. And thank you for allowing me into your hearts and into your home. Big blesses, huge hugs, and loads of love.